What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets. We're going to be talking about an NFL breakdown for Week 4. This is the week where I tend to get going. I always say the first 3 weeks I sort of got baseball still going on. This will be our last week of baseball. I feel really good about a lot of the things I did on Sunday. It didn't work out to be a huge thing, but Rhodey had a great run again. I'm ready for another week, Sheets, and I know we're doing an early look, so things are going to change. But we wanted to get something out to you guys early on. So, any sort of overall thoughts before we jump into game by game?
Yeah, we didn't do kind of a review, whatever. I happen to have ended up doing great.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, everybody was chasing whatever Rhodey, but I ended up making like 50% on DraftKings, maybe like 60% on FanDuel, and actually lost a little bit on Yahoo. Those running backs that we slotted in there, the freaking Pattersons and the Harrisons and the whatevers. They really, let those receivers just kind of fly in the end games. And I had all kinds of Rams and Bucks along. Again, we talked about this, that you can play kind of chalky receivers if you have off the board running backs and vice versa. And I had this one guy from the Patriots who was 0.8% owned that kind of like kept me going. So I was kind of happy with the way it all came together in the NFL. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing more of it.
Yep, I love it. I'm excited. I think that the season's starting to make a little more sense. We have another awesome game this week in LA. I mean, for a team that didn't have anything. And by the way, shout out to our Rams fans. Everybody talks about how there's not real fans and everything. First of all, between all the transplants and the people who either have adopted teams, but also plenty of people who were from Missouri, who also are plenty of people who've lived here for 60 years and have been Rams fans for a long time. But that place was rocking on Sunday. I mean, of all the stadiums, that stadium actually felt like it was the most energized, and I think they really gave the Rams a boost. And we've got another one we'll get into this afternoon.
Well, I have a couple of things I wanted to discuss again about this past weekend before you go ahead. Is that I might be the most blessed survivor pool player in the world. Now, again, I look, for those of you who watch my videos, are obviously putting nice sound advice together and all this stuff. But again, when I won a big one a few years ago, I got lucky like every freaking week. Dude, I had 40% of my survivor pool exposure on the Baltimore Ravens. Okay. I had literally a 0% chance to win with like 30 seconds to go in the game, and they won. Okay. But I will say that I was really on the two against the spread picks this week. One of them being Detroit against Baltimore, and the other being the Rams. Which I thought were kind of a lock, and they pretty much stuck it to Tampa. I mean, the Rams I think they're the best team. So that's we'll see what becomes of that. But yeah, good for the Rams.
Yep. Yeah, very happy to see them going like this. All right, let's get it started, man. Why don't you pull up your screen and we're gonna go through these games real quick. We're going to start off with a really good one, I believe, depending on which one you've got on yours. I'm pretty sure it's the same. It's Buffalo and Houston.
It's good for one team. I mean,
well, that's the thing, though, because Buffalo, we saw this last year, when they would win games by like 40 points and they were still throwing the ball. It's hard to ignore what Josh Allen did last week in a win game, no less. And the only thing that's made it a little bit trickier is that I think Diggs is going to have a monster game either this week or very shortly. But we've got my Emmanuel Sanders, legitimately, like I would say a legitimate number 2, but Cole Beasley catches 700 passes every week, it feels like, and has had 30 targets through 3 games. So I can get behind a lot of this stuff. Now, his stuff is more underneath, so you're not going to get the big play potential as much as you will with Sanders. But I really like this just hammer stack for Buffalo. You play 1 or 2, but even one receiver is fine. I'm obviously leading Diggs. And then you run it back with for me, it would be Brandon Cooks would be the most logical one. Although the problem is the corners are really good in Buffalo. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to find the run back in this particular game from Houston. Because it's really hard to know. It doesn't feel great. Maybe we could get something cute like an Anthony Miller. He did have 6 targets the other day. He caught a touchdown pass. He's 3,700. We've been looking for value at receiver. So he or Conley, I think, qualify as potentially those guys. We'll see what happens with Amendola this week. but I personally, I'm heavy on the Buffalo passing attack. And then if I'm running it back, it would be Cooks or Miller, but probably Miller, to be honest, just because I don't know what Cooks' upside is going to be against these corners. He has had 5 million targets so far, so it's going to be tough. I just don't know which one I'm going to end up going with, or if I'm just going to do a naked stack for Buffalo. But I definitely like this game.
Yeah, there are two games that where kind of a lack of a run back make them difficult, and this is one of them. I don't know, man. I'm not. I agree with you with respect to Diggs. You know, like he's going to have like a big game, and why not a game like this to make that happen?
To get him going. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this: the Buffalo last week. You know, I talked about it like early in the week. Maybe this is one of the top stacks, and then even me, I'm like, win this, howling wins or whatever, and then they just put up all the freaking points. Anyway, not the top priority for me, at least first look. Much of anything in this game, but I like the idea of like a dig ceiling, just quote, because we can,
right. Yeah, and I'm just gonna, again, it's tough corners, but it's hard to ignore a guy who's getting targets 13 times a game basically with Cooks in a game where they're gonna have to throw the ball. But that also does make me like Miller a little bit as a potential long shot cheapo. All right, here's a game I have very little interest in. If people want to try the Justin Fields thing, this would probably be a better week to try it than it was last week. I don't know what the hell Detroit is. I can't figure them out. I feel like people have sort of like, the week one, I think the Niners just sort of let their guard down after they had a 30-plus point lead. And last week, I just think that somewhat overlooked, but also for a team that's just decimated by injuries. On the other side, I think that DeAndre Swift will show up for some people, but I think this Chicago defense is actually pretty good. But I still don't mind him. I just think there's a lot of blah for me in this game and probably not going to be heavily focused on it. But Allen Robinson and Fields together are very cheap. So if you wanted to stack another game and play those two guys, I wouldn't hate you for it. I just don't think I'm going to be doing much in this game.
So I did a video, which I think I put up on the site. I didn't force through, the automatic import yet, so it's probably gonna stay there for 6 weeks. Right? But I did record it. I'm putting it up there, and I was talking about different builds and talking about where I think the slate can lay out. And I will just say that the example I used in that video, I'm gonna reiterate right here, is if you want to pay up for two running backs, for example, I kind of like the Bears idea here. I don't exactly know who's even going to be quarterback, if you don't know the truth. But I wouldn't mind a cheapo Bears quarterback, Robinson, Mooney, Hawkinson type deal. Look, like you said, I don't know if Chicago's defense is ever as good as people think it is. And I agree with you. I don't know what to make of Detroit either. But when you have games like this where just both teams are kind of fishy, those could be games that just kind of go nuts for no reason. And I don't know. Again, if I'll tell you that it's early in the week, so it's possible I eventually come back to my senses or whatever it is. But I'm right off the bat identifying this as kind of like the Millie Maker type stab to play with kind of like an expensive running back pair. So that's where I am, at least right now.
Yeah, I can understand it. For me, it's a little bit less interesting. So you're saying you like the running backs though?
No, I like the passing. I like quarterback for Chicago, whoever that would be, with Robinson and Mooney, with Hawkinson as a run back.
Okay. All right.
The great thing about it is we're talking about the Millie Maker. No one could ever criticize any play in a Millie Maker.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about in general, it's not a game that stands out particularly to me. Why don't you start us off with the next one, because I'm loading up our video right now. But talk a little bit about Tennessee and the Jets. I think there's some things you can do here, but I don't know that I'm actually gonna. Again, I don't know if by the end of the day I'm gonna actually get to it.
Yeah, it's for me, it's honestly just going to be whether you want to play Derrick Henry and the Tennessee defense or not much. But the other thing you could think about is along the lines with Buffalo. If they want to get like Julio and AJ Brown going, for example, I think this is probably a good opportunity to do that. I didn't get to any of this Jets business. I mean, you like playing some of the Jets in this game. For me, it's just kind of like an ugly Derrick Henry run it down their throats game, or maybe a Tennessee show off type game along with the Tennessee defense. Well, you had like ideas for this game in general?
I think because some teams' offenses are so bad that people think the defenses are bad, and I don't think this is a bad defense, and I don't think the Jets have a bad defense.
Okay.
I think there's some weaknesses, sure. I'm not saying they're awesome or anything. I just don't think that they're nearly as bad as they probably look on paper. But I mean, look, Tennessee's got weapons, and they all sort of are going to intrigue me a little bit. I do like the Derrick Henry thing a little bit. I like taking another shot on the receivers when no one's going to, or when at least in my initial projection things don't look like they're going to. I don't know where I'm going to end up with all of this, but I think it's a good get right game for Tennessee. So maybe with no AJ Brown, I do think it's going to be hard for me to just completely ignore Julio Jones, and I think Chester Rogers will show up as a legitimately viable 3K guy, 3.3K.
Yeah, I didn't see again. I didn't even catch that AJ Brown wasn't going to play. I see.
He got hurt. I had him in 10% of my lineups right away. Boom. That hurt last week. That one hurt.
It looks like he's a long shot to suit up. Okay.
And then we've got too many question marks on the Jets side of it, whether Moore or Crowder. If either of those guys don't play, you can give me some Berrios and some Corey Davis. I do think that trying to attack a defense that's been as bad as Tennessee is probably the right idea. Michael Carter would be my preferred running back if you wanted to pick one of them. But I'm not talking about like stacking of any kind. I just think that like we've seen Tennessee get huge games on the ground and in the air. And I think Corey Davis's price is really nice. So I am going to say that Corey Davis is the guy I'm looking at the most, but I want to see if Elijah Moore and Jamison Crowder, either of those guys suit up. If neither of them do, I'm going to be much higher on Davis, and I will also probably get involved with a tiny bit of Berrios. I'm just looking at some cheap receivers this week because I think we could speculate a little better than we could in some of the past weeks. And like we said, Derrick Henry should have a huge day here. It's just an other pieces game for me. It's not the game where I want to play Tannehill with these guys or anything.
Yeah,
Julio Jones. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so that was, by the way, one of the kind of stud running backs that I kind of liked was Derrick Henry. We'll get to the other one in a bit, but yeah, I mean, it just seems to make a lot of sense. If you're telling me the Tennessee defense is really not good, whatever, they're going to be probably chalky. I would imagine. Jets are really bad. But
they're really bad.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, the Tennessee defense. You don't need to be good. I mean, like I would even consider paying for a team against the Jets right now, even just any team. I don't care who you are.
Right.
KC versus the short week Philadelphia. I almost said Phillies. The Philadelphia Eagles. Look, the same thing is true that we always say, man. There's going to be a lot of games we look at, a lot of things we talk about. I will go right back to having over the field on every KC stack, every slate probably. I'm going to just be overweight on KC. And I don't love an individual run back because they sort of spread it around with their receivers, as we saw last night. But I think Goddard actually is getting such a decent workload here. I don't know what to do with the run back, but I know I like KC, and I mean, that's it. I don't know what else to say. I'm going to play the normal guys. If it was a game where I felt like they were going to really be pressed, I would play some of the other guys like Hardman, like potentially Pringle or Robinson. But I just don't think I'm going to need to get that cute with it. Just stick to the Kelsey, Hill, Mahomes idea, one of the two or both if you can find the other value. And I think this might be you know what, F this. Everybody thinks we're this team or not. I didn't think it was going to happen against the Chargers last week because the Chargers actually always played them really, really tough. But I'm heavy on I'll be heavy on the Chiefs this week.
Yeah, Kansas City is one of my top initial ideas, and that was the other team that I had mentioned that for that lack of a run back makes it kind of an issue. Not that you have to play like pure lineups with with wide receiver, tight end, run back, whatever it is, but It would help. It would help to know where your targets are coming from the other team. If you expected Philadelphia to keep it close to make this work. But I still also feel as though that Kansas City doesn't particularly need the run back to put the 40 points up. Like if they can put the 40 points up, they're going to put the 40 points up. I don't think that whether the other team keeps it close is relevant to whether they put the 40 points up. But they were in a close game against the Chargers last week. How many points they scored? You know what I mean? I think that their offense either clicking or it isn't, and I think they're not going to take the pedal off if they're clicking. So I think you can play the Kansas City guys without worrying about a Philadelphia run back.
And for what it's worth, they have taken the pedal off so far. That's been their problem. You know what I mean? They should have won probably both games that they lost. I mean, they were up by 11 with midway through the fourth. Like, yeah, that has been a little bit their issue for the last couple of seasons. Now, it didn't cost them last year. They only lost one game during the season. But I do think it's something that they're probably going to try to correct. And I think you're going to see a lot more of the trying to, ram it down their throats kind of a thing. And they made Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit more expensive. I have no problem going right back to him at 5,400. And maybe part of the way you could play this game is even is to play something. I don't know who to play with Hurts. That's what I'm struggling with.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe Quez Watkins, at his price or something. But Rager and Smith are the better receivers. I do like Hurst though on the other side of this as well. And I could see, if I have a Hurst lineup and throw CEH and one of the Gronk or Hill on the other side, I think that makes some sense too. But I do want to be heavy on that game. It's one of the games I got targeted.
Okay.
All right. What do you want to do with Carolina Dallas? I think this is an interesting situation.
Yeah. So I feel as though that I'm missing something. I was they're probably going to change it. I was expecting after watching yesterday that they were just going to everybody's going to up Zeke's projections and he was going to be just enormous chalk. Because he had a good game last night and maybe he's back or whatever it is. So I'm actually expecting that over the next day or so. I'm expecting projections to change and for Zeke's ownership to continue to rise, and I want no part of it. That's where I'm going to be. I still think that
I don't think you're right about this, by the way.
Oh, okay. Maybe I hope no.
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe you could be right.
We'll have to see. We'll just have to see because I'm not playing it either way. I think it's still I think it's a timeshare, and I think that's where that's going to be. However, I do have Dallas as one of the top offenses on the slate for me, and I will go right back to the to the hitting game, so to speak, for Dallas. I would go right back to the Amaris and the CeeDee Lambs and Dak Prescott's. I think it's a very, very strong idea. I think similarly, run backs for Carolina. I think DJ Moore is probably the natural guy that I probably want to use there. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I'll tell you what I don't want to do. Am I going to have to consider playing these Carolina running backs? I'd rather not. If you want to know the truth. So for me, I want to play Dallas. I want to play them off. No, Carolina's defense definitely improved. Okay. But they've been playing some weak teams. And I like the Dallas offense. They're one of my top initial thoughts. And I guess DJ Moore is a run back, and I'm kind of off of the running backs.
Yeah, if they made Chuba Hubbard, a lot cheaper because of how much they feature them in their game plan overall, I would probably have some interest in him here. Maybe I'll revisit that. He is cheap, but then again, you could, even though Zeke is in the quote unquote timeshare, both Pollard and Zeke's, strike me as really good players. The way Carolina uses their running backs, I could see him getting a little bit of love. I think the Dallas side of it, I think that Carolina's defense is good, legitimately good. I think that you get, I don't know. I still can't get over the Cooper and Lamb thing. I think one of those guys is going to smash most weeks. They didn't really need them to exactly last night, partly because your defense is scoring touchdowns. You're up by a bunch of points. Zeke, going crazy early on. But I think there's a game where you're going to see the Robbie Anderson big play. This feels like that kind of a game to me. And I love DJ Moore in this game. I think I think people don't give him enough credit. And I really like the receivers in this game, which means I probably should have more of it. I'm going to play the Dallas side of the passing game, but I wouldn't fault you if you want to play Darnold either. But but I really do have all the receivers in this game, the Moore, Anderson, even Terrence Marshall as really interesting plays. So I'm heavy on the receivers, which means I'm probably going to get some game exposure here. All right, New Orleans and the Giants. And I can't figure out anything I really want to do here. Of course, we can talk about how Kamara is 8,400 and he's not going to be owned much. He did get a ton of the work after not getting much the week before. Still, they Taysom Hill'd us, and Taysom Hill got the goal line rush with a 4-yard rush to I don't know, not make it so Kamara doesn't have the monster day. So I have Kamara behind Henry, but I certainly don't mind him. And I also think that the Giants, without a Shepard, somebody should have a decent day. But the thing I keep coming back to is maybe we jumped off of the Callaway thing too early. Not that he had a monster week or anything last week, but I think he's going to be more involved, especially if it's a close game. So I'm going to have Callaway as one of my value receivers that just to consider. But overall, this is not my favorite game to target.
Yeah, I think that Kamara and Henry are both top plays on the slate. I was getting ready to whine, by the way. Remember, I told everybody I was forcing in like 20% Kamara, and I was going to get ready to whine at halftime that I didn't do more. And thankfully, he didn't completely smash in the second half.
But it's partly by design of their offense. He has so much less opportunity than Henry does, because they're not going to run. I get it. The Taysom Hill thing sort of puts a wrinkle in a lot of those goal line carry or near goal line plays.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I like Kamara a lot here. The game script to me is perfect, and him and Henry for me, and I'm just kind of not interested in the Giants doing anything against the Saints defense at all. I'm just to me it's just 20, 27-0. That's just kind of my look at it. If you want to try to play some of these Giants receivers, the one who's not going to be guarded by lat, you know what I mean? I wouldn't know what to do. You want to try Barkley again? Barkley was fine. He was good. I guess he's going to get nothing but more. Maybe that's the idea. What does Barkley look like now? I think Barkley remains in play again this week.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess Barkley remains in play this week. No, he's not one of my top options though. I don't know. It's a Saints tough defense. I'm probably just going to either play Kamara or nothing for this game.
Yeah, I hear you. They did raise his price a little bit on both sites, but not much on DraftKings, but he was much cheaper in general on FanDuel. So that's where I think people would want to play him. But I do want to throw out, I think maybe the thing we need to do in this game is, I know there's other guys that are going to have some time out there, but they did look for Ingram his first game back. They dropped his price down to the minimum, not quite the, whatever, 3K. I guess you can have 2,500 tight ends. But I really like the idea of taking a shot with Ingram here. I think that we've seen in the past how much they look to him. And I think he's a talented guy. And at 3K, he's one of the few tight ends I like at the lower tier. So I don't mind that.
Okay.
Minnesota, Cleveland. This should be a fun one. These are weird teams. So we have to figure out obviously what happens with Dalvin Cook, right? And if not, I have no problem going back to Madison. I will just say this is not a bad defensive front. So I am not going to be like heavily overweight on either of them. And they did raise Madison's price a little bit. I don't know what we can say Minnesota's really good at stopping. So I am very happy just to go right back to the Justin Jefferson, right back to Adam Thielen. Sorry, I'm going the other. I said the wrong side of it. I am happy to go take a shot with Odell Beckham, and we just have there's just a lot of question marks on the receiving core for Cleveland in a game I expect them to be able to throw the ball. So OBJ, maybe Peoples-Jones is probably second, and then I guess Higgins would be the next one for me. But I want to try and get some exposure here, and it's hard with the Chubb Hunt thing. I did play Kareem Hunt quite a bit last week, and he looked really good. I know I want pieces of it. I just don't know who they are yet. And that's I guess what happens sometimes on a Tuesday. And on the other side, I would rather play the Minnesota passing game than the running game in this one. I think it's a game where I think they're going to struggle at times to run the ball. And I think that you've got some real openings. We just see how many looks this Thielen Osborne are getting. And I'm sorry, Thielen and Jefferson, and then you have Osborne on top of it, the young guy who again, we're looking for value at receiver, so I'm always going to keep mentioning his name. I know he let some people down. He was higher owned than I thought he'd be last week, but he still put up 15 and 20 in the 2 previous games. So I actually just really want to highlight this game, but I want to make sure I play I think I'm just going to play the passing game more than I am the running game in this spot.
Yeah, I think I'm probably asking for trouble here, but I like Minnesota. They're one of the teams that I'm going to play again. I just, you know what? Because I just know where the passes are going. Like, they're going to Thielen and they're going to Jefferson. That's just where it's going to be. I think it could be a fun game. And if you want to stack this game, like you said, you could play Beckham, you could play Chubb, whatever. You could do that too. But I do like Minnesota a lot. I do like Minnesota, and I'll probably like them like most weeks, as long as they continue to have this very slim target tree. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes a lot of sense.
And they always have. That's how Cousins has always been. From when Diggs was there,
Yeah.
They've always sort of had the same thing.
Yeah.
But the one thing they do have is that third receiver now, KJ Osborne's really talented. He's a game breaker. So just if you're going to play, like if you're going to really target in on this game, I think you'd want to get some exposure there. But you also have the really cheap options on the other side. And in a game where, again, I think they're going to be able to run the ball okay, but I think at some point Minnesota just starts stacking the line and starts daring Baker to beat them, because it's Chubb and Hunt could, Chubb's price is tempting. Maybe I do have to look at those guys a little bit deeper. Chubb got a ton of work. He just didn't get the touchdown upside like that Hunt got last week. So
right.
They're happy to run the ball. So I don't know. It's a very interesting game, but it's definitely one I'll be targeting.
And if Cook is out, I would go back to Madison as well.
Yep. I'm going to make sure. Let's see. Hunt. All right. So this Indy Miami game couldn't be a more boring game on paper. I don't really know exactly like what I would do if I did anything here. So I'm just going to say Jonathan Taylor is too cheap for his talent level / usage. Now they've used a lot of Hines because they've been down in games so far this season. If the game script works out his way, he might be a really, really good play at 6,300, but I don't know that I want to play him against a good Miami defense.
You got Taylor, Carson, Madison, Harris, Gibson. I got all these these 6K guys. And I just think he's in the mix with all those. So I guess he's in the mix. If you're not going to play Henry, Kamara together, which you obviously don't have to. If you want a second running back, I think all those 6K guys, it's kind of hard for me to separate, because so it's we'll get to these other guys in a minute, I guess. So Gibson, Harris, Madison, Carson, Taylor. So Taylor is in the mix for me, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I really like the Dolphins defense this week, and I don't mind the Colts defense either. I like the prices, and I think that there's a huge upside for the Miami defense, especially against Wentz on the road. All right. You do have Jacoby Brissett revenge, by the way, in that game. Washington, Atlanta here. Another one that you want to try. We want to try and take some spots against in general against Atlanta. The right thing to do is usually to play the running back, especially if he's a pass catching running back as well. And we have that, even though he hasn't had that much work out of the backfield in terms of the pass catching. Very big on Antonio Gibson this week. He will be a guy I'm going to be heavily overweight on. And I will go right back to Cordarrelle Patterson, although I don't like it as much as I did last week. And there was more upside for him in that game even than he got. But when you're getting, what is he getting? 20% of the target share for the throwing, and then he's getting basically 35% of the rushing attempts. He's going to have some weeks, and this is a good defense that is not as good as I think we thought it was going to be. So I'm going to be into the Patterson thing again. Right or wrong. And I understand if you want to go to Mike Davis, like the price is really, really cheap, but I personally would probably lean heavier on Patterson myself. I like both these running backs.
Okay, everybody just don't be too loud. All right. Listen, you said this last week. Okay. I don't know what it is. Mike Davis, everybody loves Mike Davis. Okay. They projected Mike Davis like the greatest freaking running back value like ever. And you were on Cordell Patterson from the beginning of the week. I was just waiting for the entire industry to catch up and make Cordell Patterson chalk. Nobody did, and we didn't care. We played him anyway, and he got 7 freaking receptions. Okay. This week, I'm just telling you that I did my first runs, and Mike Davis apparently like still like considered like a tremendous value. You know what? Everybody can just go play Mike Davis again. Please don't play Cordell Patterson again. I'll be more than happy to do it again. It's fine by me. That's where I'm at. And I think, by the way, I think Washington's defense is not that good, by the way. And I'll go right back to that. And as a matter of fact, if that ain't a lot of fun, I'll play the Atlanta passing game too. I'll play Ryan. How about this? I'll play Ryan with Patterson and Ridley and run it back with McLaurin. How about that? That could be some fun business.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I didn't mention McLaurin, but he should be firmly in play as well. But I'm sort of siding with the running part of this game, but I do like the McLaurin and Ridley call. Ridley's just really good, you know, like he's going to get a ton of work and he's really good, and that should be good enough for us, especially if Russell Gage ends up being banged up, which is questionable right now. Seattle, San Francisco, a little surprised to see the total on this game. I think it's because San Francisco's played a little faster this year than we maybe thought they were going to. So Seattle's defense is very suspect in many ways. We need to know who the Niners are going to be playing at running back. That's very hard to know right now, whether Eli Mitchell is going to be healthy or not. I'm kind of interested, though, more on, well, again, I like the Niners defense in general. I'm not going to be playing Chris Carson personally. That's just sort of the way I'm sort of taking the early season Seattle stuff that they're doing. And I will go back to Metcalf, who, he had a good week, but he could have had a monster week last week. So I'm into DK, and I'm always good with Lockett as well. I think D. Eskridge will be back this week, is my guess. Their new young toy, and I think he can play. But I'm kind of interested in the San Francisco passing game here, and this might be the spot where I think everybody, I think Samuel looks like the obvious big play and everything. I think this might be the Brandon Ayuk week. They finally got him involved on Sunday night against the Niners. Against the Packers. I know that there was some early stuff, the coaching stuff about him and everything. He's a really talented young guy. And I think going to a little bit of him is kind of interesting. Probably not going to get to Sanu at minimum cost unless I was fully stacking this game, which is not my current plan. I just have enough respect for San Francisco's defense. But whoever San Francisco's running back and then running it back, is going to be interesting. But I think Ayuk is the guy who I'm going to lean on this week as a potential play. I have to see how the week plays out and if we hear any more about how he might not get playing time or whatever. But I do like Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I didn't get to too much in this game, actually. Except for, as I said, Chris Carson is one of the, 6,600 guys. Again, I don't think he's like a ceiling guy. San Francisco, I still have a little bit of respect for San Francisco's defense. I'll tell you this. I think Garoppolo might be bad. I don't know.
Oh, I'm on this hill with you. He's got the best quarterbacks coach in football, and he still can't. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, he might be kind of awful. Nonetheless, Kittle. I love the Ayuk idea, by the way, in the Millie Maker. I love it. I think it's great. I totally forgot to play him in the showdown the other day. And when I saw him catch did he get a touchdown as well?
Yeah, it's a touchdown.
I'm like, oh man, Bobby, because you were like the originator of Brandon Ayuk. I think.
I've been waiting for my big game. I got a couple of them last year, but this time I really feel good about it. Yeah, so I've got, and I'm very, I like the Kittle play. I forgot to mention that. That's sort of the obvious one in this game that I didn't really touch on. All right, you ready to go over to what should be a really fun game? And by the way, I'll just say it at a quick glance here. I would bet the over on this Rams-Arizona game all day long. I don't even think it's close. I really don't. It would take a lot. I don't even know the path exactly that it doesn't really have a high total by the end of the game. Even if the Rams are up big or whatever, Kyler will go nuts later on. So I love this game. I'm into both sides. The Rams, as great as this defense is, and I've been saying it, look, this is arguably the best defense in football in a lot of ways. But what they do is they over pursue, they give up big plays. I know that didn't happen as much last week, but now you've got a quarterback who when he gets pressured, and he doesn't need 2 seconds. He can turn that into a 6-second play and find somebody downfield. So unfortunately for Arizona, they have a lot of receivers they're getting involved in the mix. And I think that I would be happy to go back to Rondale Moore. I was heavy on Kirk last week. And this week, I think I'm looking at going back to Rondale Moore. AJ Green's looked really good as well. But I think DeAndre Hopkins and Murray are the obvious combinations. And I think on the other side, I mean, I don't know what price they're gonna have to make Cooper Kupp to where we're not playing him. He's just putting up 1 million fantasy points every week. But I will say the same thing again. I will be high on Kupp, and I will probably be higher on Woods to save the money. I also think that, and I called the Deshaun Jackson thing last week. They are looking for him. This is the one thing this Rams offense has kind of been lacking over the past couple of years. While they've been really good, is this huge home run threat. I don't think that that's necessarily a guy you want to take on a giant slate, but well, sure would have worked out last week. I mean, I'll take 20 points out of that guy. The problem is it's a little bit crowded over there. How much are they going to throw the ball? Are they going to try and keep a little more on the ground? But mostly it's going to be Kupp, Woods. I love both of them. I understand that it's been Kupp's way, and you can say he's much better, all that stuff. I still think Robert Woods is going to have plenty of upside going forward. And it'll probably take a millionaire maker lineup for me to try and play Deshaun Jackson as well. But on the other side, I love just simply running it back with Hopkins, because there are some other options for me here. Hopkins and Moore are my favorite too this week, but I have no problem if anybody wants to play Kirk and AJ Green. And I think you can use both quarterbacks, and I think you could stack this game heavily. And the one last guy who I'm going to mention is Tyler Higbee again at 4,600. Had a good week, could have been a really good week. And I think you're going to see some monster weeks out of him coming forward. I really like the Rams passing attack, really like the Arizona passing attack here. Not finding a ton of interest in the running game, although it probably is a mistake because we want to try to attack Arizona. It's just probably because we have Henderson is questionable right now. If he doesn't play, this time I might consider using a little Sony Michel.
Yeah, this is the premier fantasy point game. You know what I mean? This is you got high pace, you have good skill position. I mean, like this is where I don't want to be like Debbie Downer and say, oh, this is obviously where the ownership's going to go, so you want to try to fade this, whatever. We'll talk about that some other time. But this is, to me, obviously the game that you have to go after. I mean, Arizona plays wicked fast. Rams are, until they have a lead, they're more than happy to accommodate. They like you said, I mean, Cooper Kupp gets opened, and Robert Woods remains in play, and Higbee remains in play, and Kyler Murray remains in play. And yeah, look, the Rams have probably the best defense in football. They have the two best defenders in football on the same team, as I mentioned last week. So maybe they can make life pretty difficult for Arizona. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's be a high-paced game, and then there's just going to be points all over the goddamn place. So you definitely want to get some of this, if not all of it. And I don't think you need to be too cutesy and play the running backs. I just think that the passing games of both teams are just going to be going kind of berserk.
Yeah, the only reason I say the Rams running backs is just Arizona has looked very susceptible on the ground in general. So that's the only reason I mentioned it. And McVay is a smart enough guy to take advantage of whatever's there. But looking forward to another great game in LA. It's been forever since we've had any. Now apparently we get all the marquee games this week. So nice. I'm good with that. All right, you ready to talk real quick Pittsburgh and Green Bay? Yeah.
And as I mentioned in these videos last week, the Pittsburgh and Ben Roethlisberger is officially dust offensively. I'm not interested in any of that for any reason, except they got somebody good. I mean, Najee Harris is not bad. And he was like basically all their receiving yards, not receiving yards. What do you have, like 14 receptions or something like that?
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen with these guys sometimes.
And so that's they're going to be their new plan, right? Sounds good to me. And I'll play him again. So for me, it's going to be Najee Harris on the Pittsburgh side. It's going to be Devontae Adams, but a big surprise on the Packer side. I don't know if I want to like stack Green Bay or anything like that, or Yeah, and I'm not putting any money on Ben Roethlisberger's arm till further notice. So for me, it's either like somehow find a way to stack Green Bay, or just play like maybe a one-off with Adams and maybe Adams Najee Harris, kind of like a 1v, 1 versus 1 over there without a quarterback. I think that makes a lot of sense in this game.
Yeah, I like Devontae Adams fine. I think Pittsburgh's defense is really good still. I mean, it's not been their defense that's hurting them; it's their offense.
Yep.
I think everybody you said I'm big on Harris again. But I think that depending on who's healthy, I'm going to be all over Chase Claypool. I mean, that guy literally could have had the week that broke the slate last week, and he had 15 targets, 9 catches for 97 yards, and it could have been a monster, and nobody played him. I'm happy to go right back to him depending on who's healthy. And even if they're not, I just believe in the talent level anyway. So they will rely on him for those intermediate routes, letting him use his size to get up over the top. And I agree with Devontae Adams on the other side, but I probably am not going to be doing much outside of that. Denver and Baltimore as the final game of the week.
No, thank you.
Interesting. Well, here's what I find interesting about it. You have a team that's got that kind of a pass rush. It can work the other way with these kind of quarterbacks. I'm telling you, that's why I sort of like Kyler again. If you're going to over pursue Lamar Jackson, he could run for 150 yards anytime. He is the best running quarterback we've ever had in football. And I think this should be a really good football game. Like, this is like a really, really good game with some two good teams. I feel so bad for Lamar Jackson, by the way. The reason why that game was so close last week, did you see the drops? I mean, literally wide open drops in the end zone 3 times. Marquise
Brown really is the worst, right?
I mean, it's crazy, but the part of the reason he's the worst is he gets so open that it looks even worse. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't know. I feel for him. And it's time we get him a real one receiver, and before anybody can say, oh, he's not a real quarterback. Also, he led the league in touchdown passes last year, and everybody goes, oh, but he never throws the ball. Well, whatever. It's partly he doesn't have the right pieces around him. It's hard to want to attack either of these defenses in general. I think both tight ends are in play. I think that I don't. They have the split. The split at running back is making it hard for me to know which one to go with, and I don't really need to try and attack Baltimore that way anyway. One of Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton should have a monster week just because of volume. It just depends on if a guy like Deontay Spencer or Kendall Hinton takes something, because you have no Hamler now and no Jerry Jeudy. So their young stud receivers are gone. Maybe it's the Tim Patrick week, but I'm going to put Patrick and Sutton as probably the only things I'm really that high on in this game, other than always being high on playing Lamar. I don't care how many people are going to play him. There's too much upside for him in the way that he plays. So, but yeah, I really do like those receivers just because of volume for the.
Were we too quick to dismiss? I don't know if you dismissed him. Aaron Jones from Green Bay.
I just at 7,700. There's other guys I'd rather play, and you got him in a pretty tough matchup. I mean, but yeah, maybe I was a little quick to dismiss him. I'm not as high on him this week personally.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get to much of the Baltimore game.
Yeah, I'm just saying though, keep an eye out for these receivers. Like these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, Fant, Andrews. So you're thinking like a KJ Hamler type thing, or like
yeah, no, Hamler's gone. He's out.
Oh, so it's going to be Sutton. Okay.
Or his ACL, Sutton or Patrick. Okay. There just on volume, like it has to go somewhere. But Fant is probably the most logical option. It's just the other guys are going to be the ones who are completely unknown. Although Fant shouldn't be too owned this week either. All right, so quick sum up of this this monster NFL slate. I guess I'll go through mine and then you can do your thing. I've got, my favorite game stacks are the Allen to Diggs, and then maybe running it back with Cooks or Diggs or Sanders or maybe a Beasley, although I don't think it's a Beasley week. KC game, both sides, but mostly the KC side, Mahomes to Hill and Kelsey. If I play Jalen Hurts at all, it will definitely have Hill or Kelsey on the other side of that game with CEH probably as well. Minnesota, Cleveland, I want to try and attack the passing game in that one. Although I'm coming on to a little bit, maybe I might decide to go for a little bit of Chubb. And then the Rams in Arizona, both sides. People will not play DeAndre Hopkins this week. I'm just going to tell you this right now. No one is going to play DeAndre Hopkins. Jalen Ramsey is an awesome corner. If you're going to tell me though that DeAndre Hopkins is going to play one-on-one for a day, I will take all of DeAndre Hopkins versus the best corner in history. He is an awesome receiver. He is not a guy who has any trouble with any single man coverage. And maybe he was banged up and wasn't quite himself last week. I will go right back to that this week. I actually don't think the Rams Arizona game ends up getting as much ownership as you think. So I'm really high on that. I also think that there's a Dak path this week to both the receivers. I like Julio Jones as a standout as a receiver. I like Robbie Anderson and more in that Carolina side. Running backs, I like Najee Harris a lot. I like Derrick Henry, Anthony Gibson is another one of my favorites, and I like Patterson again. There's a bunch of other guys, but I don't want to name them all. I like Ingram, Kittle, Fant as my Kelsey, obviously, as my other tight end pool for guys who aren't in necessarily the games that I was targeting. And my defenses my favorites are the Lions, Dolphins, and Colts.
All right, so I want to bring you back, just piggyback off of one of your takes just then. I want to bring back a couple of years. It wasn't that long ago where Jacksonville had the best defensive football, and it really wasn't even close. Like you couldn't complete a pass against them. And they had Jalen Ramsey and the other guy, I forget who he was, and you couldn't do anything against them. And DeAndre Hopkins went in there 1% ownership and ripped them. Okay, like he's done this before, and I could care less. Like you said, I don't care who's guarding. The other thing is that I agree with you. I like the Rams that game. I like Dallas. I like Kansas City, Buffalo, like you mentioned, and then my kind of hoodoo plays are Atlanta and gulp Chicago. And then with the running backs, I think that I think both Henry and Kamara are very strong. I think they're enormous favorites, and I think that they're just gonna get there. That's just my initial take on those two.
Find those cheap receivers to go with them, which sort of suits your Chicago and stuff like that. So
I don't see. That's the thing. I fiddle around with that. So you're probably gonna. I don't know if I could double pay up for the running backs without having to do something like that. So you're gonna have to pick one of those 6K guys in the running back position that you like the best. And the good news is you got a good amount to choose from, right? Mm-hmm. Like I like your idea, by the way, of not being too into Chris Carson. It's Chris Carson. I think he's gonna continue to just get his and like be, get like his 3X every week or something like that. But I don't think he's ever gonna be in that position to really just like Derrick Henry it up. You know what I mean? Like for example.
Yeah. There'll be a game sometime this year, but it's not against San Francisco to me.
That's true. Well, that's true too.
He's also run really, really good with his touchdown upsides so far this season. Like he had a combined 111 yards over the last 2 games, and he had 3 touchdowns in those games. He had 31 yards against Tennessee and 2 touchdowns, which saved a lot of people's lineups. So
and last thing again, just don't. Please, look, I'm really hoping that enough people are watching this so that like you profit off and you like us, and not that many. Please make sure that you don't play Mike Davis instead of Cordell Patterson. I can't imagine why, but once again, with projection models just loving him. They just love Mike Davis. They just love it.
Yep. They're looking at the running game and looking at saying he's going to get this many percentage of the things because of how much he lines up in the backfield, but they're forgetting that Cordell Patterson lines up as a wide receiver too. So it's a different story. Anyway. Excuse
me. He had 12 rushing attempts. He had 4 targets, 4 receptions. What that do for him? 11 fantasy points.
Yep. Yeah, to win tournaments, he doesn't seem like the right guy right now. I still think, the price is always, I'm always going to be looking for cheap running backs, but he certainly has not. He's left a lot to be desired, and I think there's much more upside in Patterson's game, just in the nature of it. Unless Atlanta's up like 2 scores, and then Mike Davis is just grinding it out. That's the kind of carries Patterson won't get.
Atlanta's not going to be up 2 scores the whole season.
There you go.
It's just not.
I believe it. Hey, I'm not disagreeing with you. Anyway, all right. Well, good luck to everybody out there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's have another good week. Hopefully, one of us can win the million, or if not, at least have some nice sweats and some other stuff. For Sheets, for everyone at True DFS, I'm BobbyFi saying let's crush it. And me and Rody will be with you later this week to do our picks show.
Hey Bobby, guess what? By the way,
sir.
Guess what happened while we were recording, and we're still recording.
You win a League of Legends tournament?
No, it'll be silly. Sheets won a tennis tournament.
Oh my God, bro, this is crazy.
First and third.
All right. One more time this happens, I'm flying to New
Nah,
York.
first and third, dude, for a grand total of first prize is 1,500.
Hey,
Let's
take
go.
it, man.
Dude, I guess someone's got to pay for these terrible baseball takes.
All right. Well, good luck to everybody out there. Let's crush it today. And,
See you later.